Hey guys, Montel here, and thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. And I wanted to start the show off by reviewing some really important statistics, some that you may know or some that you may not know about. The current number of incarcerated non-violent cannabis prisoners in the United States is about 40,000 plus. The amount spent annually in the U.S. on the war on drugs is $47 plus billion a year. The annual U.S. budget used to enforce laws on cannabis is about $3.6 billion. The number of Americans using cannabis on a regular basis is only 25 million. Number of jobs generated if all 50 states legalized cannabis, it would be 1.6 million. The federal tax revenues generated in 5 years if all 50 states legalized cannabis, get this, 130 billion. Well, my guest today is a music and entertainment industry veteran who, along with his two siblings, founded Ocean Grown Extracts, which is housed in a very unique location in Coalinga, California, a former prison. The company is deeply committed to social justice. Their motto is, "We grow weed out of prison to help get people out of prison for growing weed." Mr. Dan Dalton, thanks so much and welcome to Let's Be Blunt with Montel.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Why don't you tell us back for a little bit and tell us about your background in the music industry and entertainment industry before you got started in Ocean Extracts?
Yeah, Ocean Grown Extracts.
Ocean Grown Extracts.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I grew up in, well, a couple of places. One, I'm sitting in the Santa Monica Mountains at my friend's winery right now to get out of my house because my home with dogs and kids. And so anyway, this is one of the places I come from, a place called Malibu Lake, and grew up in the Malibu area, and then moved to Silver Lake, where in the 80s, where I grew up on hip hop, and where hip hop, at the time, the golden age of hip hop. And that's really how I got into the music business. I went to school with some of the guys from the hip hop group Jurassic 5, and they were my friends. They were my best friends, and that's how I got into the music business. One day, after helping them get organized, I was the guy organizing them all the time when we were running around. I ended up being asked to be their manager, and that was my entry point. And I ended up managing them through their whole career, and other hip hop, from LA, Dilated Peoples, and just kind of that movement of what they were calling underground hip hop.
Yeah. And I mean, so that clearly got you connected with cannabis over the years, right?
Well, I was connected to cannabis actually from these mountains. My parents were both musicians, and I grew up on really wine and song, man, and artists and creative people, and a lot of people that grew. And my brother is a grower, and so I've had cannabis part of my life. My parents both used growing up as a kid, so I had it in me the whole time. And then when I get to LA, we're running around trying to buy dime bags, and going to MacArthur Park, and it was risking our lives, to be honest with you. We were talking about that the other day with Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5. We would, have $10 in our pocket and get down to MacArthur Park. And in the 80s, even now, probably it's not that safe, but back then it definitely was, And,
right, and it wasn't safe not only from crime on the street, but also wasn't straight from the perspective of the way police looked at cannabis back then.
100%.
They still look at it the same way now. I mean, fortunately, you are the ethnicity that you are, but, had you not been, you probably would have been one of the victims of, incarceration that's based on, nonviolent use of your own, right?
Well, I witnessed a lot of that, right? And I even, man, I mean, we would be in the same car, right? I'd be the only white guy in the car. And so I witnessed that firsthand. And I feel bad for the police in some way that, they're regulating, or they're enforcing the law. And that's why we need to change these laws. It's more about, to me, changing these laws right
now. Let's get in that. We're gonna let's delve in deep into that in just a few minutes. But let's back up for a second. Now, your brother Kelly was a cultivator for years before you guys even decided to start your own business.
Correct. So how we got into the business was really my sister. She started off as a preschool teacher and then ended up purchasing her own preschool. She noticed that some children in the inner cities were getting better care, better child care than others just because of their economic status, right? And whether that was their safety or their environment or nutrition. And so she vowed to really change that. And she ended up, long story short, with 4 or 5 preschools. And she provided very high quality childcare for a very low tuition. And so she had to learn how to be compliant and learn how to deal with regulations and the state. And that's how she became familiar with she applied those characteristics and those traits to the cannabis business. But anyway, my brother was risking his life, and we thought we would get a phone call in the middle of the night, saying that he's been locked up. And so when she saw that there was
he was doing what he was growing his own, and then but just selling some low level sales of cannabis.
He was under Prop 215,
okay.
and so yes, but he was growing his own. He was also providing oil, the Rick Simpson oil, to a lot of people that we know who had cancer. Anybody who had cancer would come our way because they knew my brother Kelly had a kettle on every morning, just the same you and I might put on a pot of coffee or a pot of tea. My brother was making oil for patients, really. And that was his intention, was to help. I mean, this is, as you know, Montel is medicine, right?
Absolutely.
And so my brother's intention was that. And then, we this was a different time, this is 6-7 years ago. And my sister and I feared my brother's safety. We thought that any day his door could get kicked in and we'd be getting that call. She would keep her phone on in the middle of the night. Because of that. So
the three of you got together and said, I got this idea. Let's, why don't we start our own cannabis business, call it Ocean Grown Extracts?
Yeah, it wasn't me. It was my sister who really started figuring that out. We had some friends who had some resources to them, which we can get into later. But yeah, we were able to start researching and looking into how to protect Kelly. That's how this thing really started. And Ocean Grown Extracts my brother was growing the strain OG, as you know, but the original San Fernando Valley OG. So that was his specialty, and that's all he knew. That's all he did. He was one of the few that had that strain at the time. And yeah, so once we took that dive and started seeing the market and just the opportunity to protect him was our entry point.
And then what made you decide to set your cultivation site up in this really absolutely unique location?
Yeah, it wasn't really a decision that we made. It's not like we were looking for a prison or that was the intention. My sister and my family started speaking to the city of Coalinga, and we were really just going for our permits and the opportunity to be protected and to participate. And once that was established, then we started asking them about property in the area, and they said, "Yeah, we have this prison." And they're like, "You have a prison?" And that's where it started.
It was very interesting. I was living in Monterey, California, back in early '80s, and I happened to be out there when Coalinga suffered one of the biggest earthquakes that you guys have had in the last 30 years. That's just a passing thought. But now, how has the business impacted the local community?
Well, year one, we had over 100 jobs. It's definitely impacted the community. There was an education process to. They've been incredible to us. When you really look at the transformation of the mentality, and it really is just educating people, right, Montel? That's what you do with Let's Be Blunt. You're out there, and the advocates that are educating people and telling and making people aware that this is a medicine and just everything that comes behind it and all the work that needs to be done. Yeah. So sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
No, that's okay. I mean, well, you're nailing it though, because I think it's the education part of this whole equation that has been, kind of forgotten by a lot of people in this industry. A lot of people got into the business to make sure they could grow and sell. But then, we do a lot of work educating B2B, but don't do as much work educating B2C, educating the consumer, letting them know that what we have is a product that is efficacious, not only from a medical standpoint, but even for those who come to cannabis from an adult use standpoint. I believe deep down inside, they're coming to cannabis because they have some underlying medical reason that they're not even willing to admit.
I agree with you.
I think people come to cannabis because they can't sleep, they can't rest, they have anxiety, for whatever reason. And they also don't like the deleterious effects of alcohol. So they shift over to cannabis. But that's for a medical reason, even if you consider it an adult use situation.
I agree, man. I think people medicate themselves subconsciously without even understanding why they're doing it. Our father, who passed away recently, was bipolar, and he used his whole life. And really sad, but in the end, it became apparent to us that he was medicating himself.
Yeah, because he recognized he felt better when he was on cannabis rather than anything else, right?
Absolutely. And if I could rewind and say, all right, which one would I have him drinking Irish whiskey or consuming cannabis on a daily? It's a quick answer, right?
I'm right there with you. I tell you, like my father's 90 right now, and he's been going through some really tough times in the last month. He had a very small stroke, and he's been hospitalized. And unfortunately, where he's in the hospital, I can't get him any cannabis, but I would love to be able to get him some because, the bottom line, he's in a state where medical is okay. But, the medical system in America, as much as they claim to support and start to understand the truth, they are as resistant to change as anybody.
Yeah, they haven't adopted that idea yet, and which is crazy, right? Because they're shoving pills down people's throats, and they're quick to administer all this other shit, right? All this other stuff, and it's just incredible, man. I think if we could go, hopefully it doesn't take too long. I hope we get there quicker. We're not going to get there quick enough, but we will get there. There's no way. I keep saying the train left the station, and people know, and I think our generations are growing up and people know that this plant holds medicinal properties that have yet to be discovered. And as soon as we can allow these chemists to dive in and allow them to explore. I've sat next to doctors at dinner and heard their frustrations about, they know there are medicinal properties that they have yet to.
But I think part of that goes back to that comment that you were making a little earlier about education. And that's one of the disservices that we as an industry have been doing to ourselves. I've attended many forums where there's conventions, and when you go to a convention on cannabis, the floor is filled with vendors trying to sell product that has something to do with developing your business rather than selling the idea. Why don't we come together? It really pisses me off that now where we are, here it is 2021, and we are still, we haven't even scratched the surface of cannabis sales worldwide or cannabis sales in the United States. Yet we're trying our best to fight against the other guy down the street who's selling cannabis along with us, where we know that there's not even enough to satisfy all the customers that are out there.
Right. And we don't do that, by the way. We recognize the good guys in this industry and lock arms with them. Right. I was just on the phone yesterday with Fab Five Freddy, who's a friend of mine, and he's got a brand he's launching, Be Noble, and we're going to do something together. Right. Like he's got a lot of work in front of him, and so do we. And together, like, I recognize the good guys pretty quickly. Like Damien, I managed Damian Marley, and one of Damien's issues is that he's seeing all these people come in for money, and they're coming in for the wrong reasons with the wrong intentions. And
absolutely.
There's all sorts of ways to make money in this world, but people are here come the wolves, man.
Well,
Yep.
what's even more insane about it is the fact that we just can't get out of our own shadow and out of our own way. We have not scratched the surface. This is like the Wright brothers pushing a wooden plane down a damn hill. I
Yep.
mean, we still have jets coming. We still have, rockets coming.
Yeah, man.
So and there's billions upon billions that will be, realized in the next 10 years when it comes to cannabis. And I'm not just talking about the cannabis that we consume from a medical or adult use standpoint, from all of the 250 different applications for hemp cannabis
Man.
in the
Right.
world.
Yep.
And if we spent more time coming together as an industry, and shoring each other up rather than fighting for, a little side piece of turf,
Yeah.
I think this industry would actually exponentially grow.
A
And
hundred
we would see legalization and we would see legislation passed at the federal level. But right now, while we're all fighting each other, it leaves, the legislators in a position to try to protect their own constituents' turf. You know what I mean?
percent. Right. 100%. I mean, I've been checking your show as of late, and so I know I'm preaching to the choir, but this thing begins when you really get to the heart of it. When you look at Anslinger and where this thing started, the reefer madness propaganda and just how, like, for us to put the snake back in the jar is part of the issue, right? That, like, we're getting back to education, what we were just talking about,
And what we have to do
right?
that, to get back to education, we should tell the truth even about people like Anslinger. What people don't even know is that during Anslinger's tenure as the head of prohibition for alcohol, he had several speeches where he actually lauded the efficaciousness of marijuana and of cannabis and thought that it was a better vice than alcohol. He was literally a champion of cannabis until he lost his job and
Until
prohibition was lifted.
his budgets were gone, until his employees were, until he was gonna figure out, okay, or he had to figure out, what am I doing from here?
And
And
you're right.
if just people knew the truth, man, that's boy, the truth these days, huh? Like, it's lacking every day. Like, when you wake up and check the news, like, I don't even know what planet I'm on anymore in other areas. But this is one that's all I do, man. I walk proud, man. Like, when I'm coaching my daughter's soccer team and people ask me, what do I do for a living? I grow cannabis, and I say it proud, man. And
Right.
I don't really care what people think. And I
Right.
mean that in any angry way or offensive way. But when it's interesting, all the people, like, we make a CBN gummy, for example, right? That we it's a really great product, and it helps people sleep, right? And I have all these friends that are on all this medication that are taking shit they're addicted to now. And here's this natural CBN with 5 milligrams of THC that's getting them through the night now, right? And so this is a deep conversation. We're having it, right? But yeah,
No, but people don't want to hear about. I'll give you an example, really, really crazy, right on the same thought. I testified last week at a hearing in the state where there was a group that, were literally had gone in to get this legislature to relook at their application for one of the licenses that they had. And when they had applied the first time, the state actually gave them the license. Then it turned around and took it away because it was like, some misimpression of what was going on their application, which was completely misinterpreted by, the legal body. But while I was sitting in that courtroom, I found it just absolutely, it blew my mind because, and this is my first question. The first question that was asked to me by the attorney was, Mr. Williams, you have been involved in cannabis and marijuana. Can you tell us a little bit about why you got involved? And I said, I got involved for the same reason why our federal government got involved. The same reason why back in 2002 and back in 1998, our government issued itself its own patent on cannabis when they recognized the efficaciousness of cannabinoids and wrote in their abstract that they found cannabis to be one of the most efficacious medications when it came to ischemic strokes and for a neurological disease, and it had neurological properties,
Yeah.
protective properties. And the judge looked at me and said, "What?" I said, "Yes, sir. It's patent number 2222 or 6603507."
Wow.
And I remember looking across at the table of the opposition lawyers, and there was a look of they were just baffled, and they didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to look stupid if they tried to challenge me, because they recognized that clearly I knew something they
You know what
didn't.
you you knew what you were talking about.
But that also threw me for a loop, because here's a judge who is overseeing a whole process on cannabis, and he's not even educating himself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, man.
It completely. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir too, but that completely blows me out the door,
No,
man.
there are examples every day, right?
Yep. What did
Uh,
you think of recently Clarence Thomas stepping up to the plate and saying that he thought that it was egregiously offensive that there is probably some constitutional um, legality here that literally puts our Fed in a really bad position where I mean, he believes that our cannabis laws should be changed, or at
yeah,
least, right? What did you
yeah.
think of that when you heard that?
Um, I was surprised. Um,
Right. Especially coming from
that
one of the most conservative justices there is.
I think anybody. I'm sorry. What did you say?
I say, especially coming from one of the most conservative justices that there is.
Yeah, and you know what, man? I welcome everybody from the other side right now. Like and it's. I think we need to stand strong, but we need to allow them to come in. Right? We can't we can't just keep fighting. It's not about the fight. It's about it. Again, getting back to education and allowing them to come in, man, and allow.
Right.
And
Inviting them in.
the sooner we get
Inviting.
to the day of legalization and let these people out of prison right now, there's no law that should be passed without a measure of some sort of allowing these people to come out of prison. And you mentioned the 40,000. Last Prisoner Project says it's well over that. We're using that number 40,000 because that's the number. It's hard to get that data, by the way.
Right. 40,000 plus. Right.
I challenge anybody to go get any of this data, like that. The stats that you read off. We have a shirt for our brand evidence that we sell. Or not we sell. Yeah, we sell. Give away.
No, talk about the launch of evidence. Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, just to finish my point, sorry, those stats that we put on that T-shirt, some of the stats that you just read at the top of your show, they're not easy to come by, right? So when we say 40,000, we think it's closer to 50,000, right? And so they're not quick to show us that, but yes, evidence. So you've mentioned that we purchased a prison, and we are. I was asked by Steve D'Angelo to be a part of Last Prisoner Project at the inception, to be the birth of that nonprofit. Last Prisoner Project is a nonprofit that's committed to freeing up every last cannabis prisoner.
I've been working with them quite a bit myself lately.
Yes, I know, and that's awesome, man. And I'm surprised we haven't met yet. Look forward to meeting you in person, and I know we will at some point.
Absolutely.
But they're just a great group of people, as you know, right? And it makes my job easy. All I do is do what I'm doing with you right now. We use our prison as a platform. We use our brand, our story, and we shine light on Last Prisoner Project. That's what I'm really proud of. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not the one in there fighting, but as you know, Sarah Gersten, and we have these people there, Natalie and Mary Bailey and Steve D'Angelo. Everybody's in the trenches fighting every day. While these people are sitting in jail cells, doing their time, doing their bid, and it's not right, man. Like, you and I are going to have a beautiful day today, right? And we can go blow a spliff, we can go do whatever we want to do, and these people are in for the same thing, man. I'm moving pounds now, Montel.
Right.
Moving pounds as a white American, right? And granted, I don't want to say nobody gave us anything. We work hard for what we have. And it's a lot of work. And as you know, the cannabis business shifts every day, and it's tough, really tough. but we understand our position, and we understand the voice that we have, and I'm really blessed, and I give thanks that we have an organization like Last Prisoner Project that I can turn to and shine light on and continue to do that because it's working. Like, we're getting people out. Last Prisoner Project, along with other organizations, are getting people out, and it's not happening at the speed that you and I would like to see, but it's happening.
But
And
it's happening, absolutely.
and everybody I go around and speak to, they get it quick. I don't need 10 minutes with them. I need 2. I need 1. And people understand that it's bullshit, man, and that these people need to be let out. And anyway, so my brand evidence. So we have this prison, and my sister came up with this concept of really writing that theme. And so we sell. I brought it here. We sell our cannabis in a bag of evidence. The same evidence that you would see, same evidence bag that you would see in a court of law or by the police. And really, what I love about the brand Montel is that it starts the conversation. When people hold that bag, it's not holding a jar of flour with some pretty logo and brand on it, right? It initiates that thought and starts the conversation.
Sure.
And so we like to think of ourselves as like a unapologetic, polarizing brand that is going to be a part of the movement. It's not just us, right? And I always I like to say that again about Last Prisoner Project, but there are other organizations, there are other people doing the good work. It's all of us, right?
Right.
But
And it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us to get us out of this. It's where we are right now. And I mean, if you had to put a crystal ball on your on right now and look at a crystal ball and think, this is what cannabis is going to look like by the end of this year, by the end of next year. What do you think? Where do you think we're going? How quickly do you think before? Yeah, I see. I've been one who's, I come across a little jaded, and I don't mean to, but unfortunately, we have a president in office who doesn't get it, period, and his attorney general who claims she gets it, because when you hear her talk on the campaign stump, and she talks when you'll wait the year before, of the next election, they'll act like they are so in favor because they're going to try to capture the support of the consumer of cannabis again, like they did for this last go round, claiming that they were going to do something in the first 100 days, but now it's completely off their plate. And you got a president who still believes that cannabis is a gateway drug, where it's as bad as going up against, the most conservative idiots in the country with that thought process. And the fact that during Kamala Harris's, reign as Attorney General, she broke records with the number of arrests in the state of California for nonviolent cannabis crimes. So how do we even think for 1 second that we're going to get a change of them? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Just like Clarence Thomas stepped up to the plate and stepped out as a conservative justice, watch. I bet you somebody is schooling Trump right now, telling him if you campaign on cannabis and cannabis legalization right before you go into office, he'll be lying too when he does that. But if you campaign on that, you'll track that vote. That's exactly how he's going to get his ass back in office.
I thought he was going to do it on the last campaign, to be honest. I thought one of them were going to really go hard on it.
I did too, especially after that one Democratic debate where, down the stage, everyone but Biden said that they were going to support cannabis reform and legislation. I thought that would become one of the bigger issues, and asked on multiple shows and interviews after that. Harris was even asked about cannabis over and over again, and she jokingly talked about the fact that she used some in her past and blah, 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 blah. You thought that they were going to move us in the right direction, but no, they haven't. So it was a lip service to get a vote. And, I don't know. I think, again, the cannabis industry could do so much good for itself if we all came together in the next year and said, we will not elect the next president unless that person supports cannabis reform, period.
Yeah. And frees these prisoners.
Correct.
Yeah.
If that was a stand that everyone in this business took collectively, you would change the needle immediately.
I agree. And that's what Last Prisoner Project is really trying to do, Montel, as you know, right? Like we're trying to unite everybody and get this message out. Yeah, I think it's a generational thing, man. Like when I look at Biden, I don't like to dip too tough into politics, but it's hard not to in our industry. But it's really just educating and shaking that stigma that people have been programmed with, that this is the gateway drug or what all the BS that we've always been fed. I never went with, but
Yeah, well,
yeah,
he's also a person who has a family who has a history of, heart and drug abuse, and I get that. But at the same time, educate yourself. I mean, he claims to be a person who's a man of science. Well, then learn the science, read the science. And I
yeah,
like you. I mean, you said it. You don't like to go after people aggressively, rather invite them to the table. I'm sorry. I think from my perspective, it's time that we start smacking a couple of them upside the head.
brother,
Um,
brother, I can be there in 2 seconds.
yeah.
Two. I'm just trying to tone myself down because I come from the streets as well, right? And so I could get quickly. I come from rebel music, man. Whether it be
Right.
punk, hip hop, reggae music, I'm ready for the fight. I am
Right.
in this thing, and you know, and people who know me personally know that I'm just trying to evolve as a person, to be honest with you. So sometimes I'm not, maybe I'll say next time I'm on your show or something, I'll say something different, but I'm just trying to make this thing work, and it's not easy because I've tried, you try every way, but patience is part of it. Strength is part of it. But really just getting up every day and doing something about it is really what it's about, right? And you're doing it, man. I appreciate you. Again, when I got hip to your show, I watched the Red Man
Mm,
podcast again because that's where I come from. You had one of the
sure.
greatest MCs of all time, one of my
There
heroes
you go.
in hip hop, and an advocate, and just one of the first. But yeah, man, it's going to take everybody, man. And
Yeah.
unselfishly, it's going to take everybody. And when we get there, you asked a question a bit ago. What do I see it looking like? I really can't answer that. Remember, I'm a marketing. Out of my family, I'm the marketing, promotion, entertainment guy who thinks of branding and that thing. And I bring the creatives to the table, right? Nabil Elderkin, who's an incredible photographer, director who works with Kanye and Kendrick and Weekend, and he's my brother. And then my brother, my real brother, blood brother, is the grower. My sister is the CEO. We're a woman-run company, and she drives this thing from operations to every aspect of it. But yeah, man, it's gonna take all of us joining arms, locking arms, and I hear what you're saying in terms of the movement. Like if we said this, I heard the campaign promises as well. I read Steve D'Angelo's article in Rolling Stone where he challenged them to step up and be about their word the way you and I are about our word. Yeah, I don't know what it looks like. My sister's the one you would have to ask really how she sees it. Again, I come from I'm the marketing kind of guy.
Sure.
But how I would like to see it, here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see an easier entry point for Black and brown people to get involved and have a seat at the table. That I would like to see. I don't want to see these big corporations coming in, buying it all out, and just running this thing the way they want to run it. They didn't come from this. They didn't suffer anything, and they all not just didn't suffer anything, but they weren't the people. Like when I hear up in Mendocino and Humboldt County and all these small farmers who have a half acre, an acre, it's really sad to think about what's going to happen to those people, man, during consolidation and where we're going with that. It's not cool, man. Those are the people that fed their families for a long time.
And those are the people who believed in the plant. And see, I have a hard time. I have a hard time swallowing that a person who comes to this for money, cares about the plant or about its medicinal benefit. They don't care. They're just trying to make a buck.
Bro,
And these are the same people who would have argued with you about how vile cannabis was 7 or 8 years ago are now running around and acting like they are big supporters of it. And that drives me crazy.
But you can see right through it, right? Like when they talk about their big supporters, they're supporters for the wrong reasons, right? They don't care a little bit about that small farmer up north, Northern California,
Mm-hmm.
who risked his life to feed his family, and that's all they know. And like you said, they were advocates. They talked about it as a medicine. They promoted it, and they're the ones, part of the people, right, who got us here, who got
Right.
this thing so common that it felt okay. Like when I walk out of the Cornell Winery that I'm at right now on a Saturday and I smoke a spliff in the parking lot, I don't get the looks that I would have got 10 years ago in somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like it's more common now. Those are the people that helped this movement get to a common place, right? And the people, just everybody who participated in cannabis to get here, to think that those people don't have a seat at the table. And again, really getting back to the war on drugs and Anslinger and the black and brown people who have been targeted and intentionally thought about I mean it just goes on and on, right? Again, Montel, I feel like coming on your show, like I'd rather talk about this shit on somebody else's show that I need to educate. It's like, we're talking the same thing, man. But
it's good though, because there's a lot of viewers who are coming to my Let's Be Blunt podcast who literally come to the first time and actually get schooled this way. So I'm glad you're talking about it, because what you're really talking about is what needs to be done from a social justice standpoint and from the cannabis industry. And that's something that I think, again, we see, legislation being written all over the country, and supposedly that legislation includes some sort of social justice component, but in some ways it's just there for lip service. And I mean, how do we convince an industry to share, to look out for those who led the way?
I think
it's tough.
Look, I think it should be something that we're focused on and a priority for us, because I think it's going to be really hard.
You guys deliberately made sure that your sister was the CEO of, OG Extracts. And
well, no, that just happened. Sorry,
did?
That just happened because she took the lead, and she's just a beast. That's what she. but
she gave you guys a choice, huh?
No, man. She runs it. She's the little sister in the family. She's the youngest. Yeah,
you gotta watch out. Gotta watch out for the youngest, boy.
No.
We're the ones that are the most. Gotta watch out for the youngest. We're the ones that are the most tenacious, right?
That's good. You had to fight,
yeah, had to fight for your scraps at the table. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, man. So, but no, but we come from advocacy and standing up for people's rights, and we were very blessed to be raised by two loving parents who cared about people. Did see color of skin and said to stand up for the other people. So it wasn't like we were just equal. We understood where we were. And I think now, man, like it's okay for privilege to be shared. Like, we can share this privilege that we have as white people. And that's really what I hope to see, Montel.
And you've been doing that. You put your money where your mouth is, because you guys have just recently, formed a collaboration with Damian Marley to create the brand video for Evidence, right? Talk a little bit about that collaboration.
Well, the collaboration is really organic, to be honest, because Damian and I have worked together. I've been his manager now for 16 years or so, and we've done a lot of business together, right? In many ways. He's close to my family. When he would come to LA, or Stephen Marley would come to LA, they would want my brothers, San Fernando Valley OG, because they knew that was, they live in Miami, where the consistency of flour isn't the same. So the bag, actually, they would know if they can get it from their brethren and over here, and they know that I want that again. I want that again. Give me more of that. This is what they would do when they come to LA. They're like, okay, I know that this makes me feel, and that's where we're all going to get to, right? In terms of consistency and really consistency, right? Like when you can count on a cannabis product to be the same thing. Okay, when I do this same way, if I were to go have a Corona, I know that one Corona is not going to knock me down, and it's not going to feel like 12 Coronas. It's going to feel like one. Sorry, I'm getting off topic here, but that's how Damien got with the flower that we had. And that was the entry point for working with Kelly, my brother. He loved that. Damien Stephen loved that OG. So as we developed and the prison story came about, or the prison opportunity, Damien was right there. And when you think of the Marley DNA, right, is right there along with what we do. And it's no coincidence who we are as people, that we align with them in those kind of ideals, human rights and equal rights, and freeing the herb, and so it was really organic, to be honest with you. Damien is a shareholder, a partner in Ocean Grown Extracts, and you're going to see more brands come out of Ocean Grown Extracts other than Evidence. So he's been a part of that, and that's how it came about. It was an organic thing.
Well, what's next for Ocean Grown Extracts? What's next? What do you see on the horizon?
Wow. Well, we have other products and brands in the pipeline. Our focus is Evidence right now, because we're growing. I just harvested 6 acres outdoors. We're putting 8 acres in now, like in the next week or two. Our goal is to bag this flower in those bags. That's our number one goal right now. We're a very small company. We never took on corporate money. We never dealt with that whole VC world that everybody else. I'm sure you saw all this wild stuff that's happened over the last, couple of years. I mean, they say every day in the cannabis business is like a week, it's
sure.
It's changed a lot, right? And we've seen brands come and go. We've seen all these people come in for this green rush. We ran the marathon, man. Like, we own our company, we own our property, we own our permits. We do our own thing, and we're here to stay. So Evidence is really our focus right now, and because of the what's behind the brand, it makes it that much easier to get behind that. But our intention is to take all the flower that we grow at the prison and have 100% of it be allocated to Evidence bags, opposed to selling any on the wholesale market. That's our brand, right? That's our goal right now. But again, we have brands coming. We are opening a cookies dispensary in Coalinga, which people will be able to pull right off the 5. We have the first cookies consumption lounge in America. Shout out to Berner and Parker and the cookies team. They're an incredible company. We're really proud to be in business with them. So you're going to be able to pull off the 5 right there at Harris Ranch. I don't know if you've ever done that drive, Montel, but it's the halfway point where Elon Musk just put in, or is planning on putting in 1,000 or something charging stations, the most charging stations. So people who are driving from LA to the Bay or the other way can stop. But yeah, we have a consumption lounge where you can come in and have a smoke.
Just chill.
Yeah, and just chill. We're opening a dispensary and a couple other things maybe I shouldn't talk about, but we're growing, man, and we're here to stay. We're looking at New York right now. But again, Evidence is our focus.
Well, congratulations, man. If anybody want to get more information about you, where do they go? Is there a website?
Yeah, buyevidence.com. Buyevidence.com. Evidence Bag, at Evidence Bag for Instagram. And I would encourage people, as you do, I know, to go to lastprisonerproject.com and what this thing is about. I think one important part that I just realized that I didn't mention, Montel, that when we sell an Evidence bag, $1 goes back to Last Prisoner Project. So we make that connection. Again, our saying of we grow weed out of prison to help people get out of prison for growing weed. We do that because it's this cycle, man. You know, like our weed, when you're smoking evidence, you know it came from that spot, and that when you're putting your money in, there's a piece that goes back to LPP, and
Absolutely.
and that's really where that's what I think is one of the differentiators of our company, is holding the evidence bag and understanding that part and starting the conversation. And the conversation is what's needed right now, as you know.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, I can't thank you enough, sir, for being a part of the show today. And I tell you, anytime you want to come back, you know you always have a home here to talk about anything that's new and innovative that you're doing. And just love kicking it around with you, man. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, we should meet in person, man. Like I'm planning an announcement at some point, but in LA, I'm doing an LPP event, like with Damien and Stephen Marley, and you should make your way and come hang with.
Absolutely. Let me know when it happens, and I'll try to get out there to it to help you participate and help spark interest.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate that, and thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, so good. Thank you. Well, that's Mr. Dan Dalton, who's the CEO of Ocean Grown Extracts.
No, sorry, I'm not the CEO. My CEO.
You're the co-founder.
I'm one of the co-founders.
One of the co-founders of Ocean Grown Extracts and the Evidence brand. Dan Dalton, thanks so much for being a part of Let's Be Blunt with Montel today. And make sure you tune into the next Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Thanks for joining me on Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear your feedback also, so please send us your comments.